In 1963, Israel was getting dangerously close to building a nuclear bomb. And this was making US President John F. Kennedy extremely uneasy. He did not want Israel to build a nuclear weapon and stir up unrest across the Arab world, because if that happened, the Arab nations would turn to America's rival, Russia, for help. Kennedy tried everything he could to stop Israel. But what actually happened next was something nobody saw coming. Not America, not the UK, and not even Russia. In the race to acquire nuclear weapons, powerful nations have played with dangers that are almost impossible to imagine. Secret intelligence operations, honey traps, and even close allies openly betraying one another. Today we're going to look at the story of the 10 countries that now hold this terrifying power. Welcome back to the channel. There are a total of 195 countries in the world today, and almost all of them have advanced militaries and high-tech weapons for their defense. But out of those 195, only 10 nations possess the most dangerous, most destructive weapon on Earth, the nuclear bomb. Think about it. In today's world, where every country is racing to outdo the next, only about 5% of nations have managed to build this weapon. Some helped each other along the way, but most did it in complete secrecy, through high-level espionage, deadly rivalries, and outright betrayal. The stories of how the other 9 countries got the bomb are just as fascinating as America's own Manhattan Project. Let's start with the United States. Everyone knows it was the first country to acquire nuclear weapons. But did you know the discovery that made it all possible actually came from Hitler's own scientists? In 1938, German scientists were the first to discover nuclear fission, the process of splitting atoms in a chain reaction to release enormous amounts of energy. Science was a small, tightly connected world back then, and news of this explosive German discovery reached Albert Einstein, who was in the US. He immediately warned the American president that Hitler could use this new discovery to build a weapon capable of destroying humanity. That warning led the US to launch a top-secret project during World War II, one that's now famous as the Manhattan Project. Scientists from the US, UK, and Canada were brought together, and enormous sums of money were poured in to make sure Hitler didn't win the race. By 1945, Germany had surrendered and Hitler was gone. Around the same time, news came in that America's first nuclear test, the Trinity test in New Mexico, had succeeded. The very next month, America dropped Fat Man and Little Boy on Japan, forcing Japan to surrender. The war ended, but now everyone wanted this new weapon for themselves. During World War II, the Soviets were America's ally, but in 1941, American and British scientists stopped publishing their nuclear research papers. This made the Soviets suspicious. They felt this knowledge was being deliberately kept from them. So the Soviet Union quietly planted spies inside the Manhattan Project and began gathering information. Meanwhile, the Soviets thought they were playing America at its own game, but the Americans were no less clever. They turned some of the Soviet agents into double agents and fed them false information. After 1945, when the Soviets began suspecting they had double agents in their ranks, they stopped fully trusting the stolen American designs and continued their own independent research. As a result, much earlier than America expected, the Soviet Union successfully tested RDS-1 in Kazakhstan in 1949. America's monopoly on this technology was over, and this is where the Cold War between the two superpowers truly began. The third nation to get the bomb was the United Kingdom, and despite being a close ally, it too ended up betrayed by America. The UK had actually started nuclear weapons research even before the US, launching a project called Tube Alloys in 1940. German scientists who had fled Germany helped with this research. But due to resource shortages during World War II, the UK handed over all its research to its close ally, America's Manhattan Project, not for free, but under an agreement called the Quebec Agreement, which stated that both countries would share the technology with each other. However, once America successfully built its first nuclear weapon, its attitude changed completely. It broke the Quebec Agreement and refused to share information with the UK, a straightforward betrayal. This betrayal forced Britain to restart its own nuclear program from scratch. Since they had already done a lot of groundwork and controlled much of the world's uranium supply, they moved quickly. In 1952, the UK successfully carried out its first nuclear test near the Montebello Islands off Australia, in an operation named Operation Hurricane. Around this time, once America saw that both Russia and the UK now had nuclear bombs, it began working on something thousands of times more dangerous than a regular atomic bomb: the hydrogen bomb. While a standard atomic bomb splits atoms to release energy, called fission, a hydrogen bomb fuses atoms together to release energy, called fusion, the very same process that powers the sun. In 1952, America tested this new bomb, which was about 450 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Naturally, Russia followed in 1955, and the UK in 1957, each testing their own hydrogen bombs to prove they weren't falling behind. Now to France, the fourth country to get nuclear weapons. Some French scientists had worked on the Manhattan Project, but after World War II, France's goal was to use nuclear technology only to generate electricity, not to build a bomb. Then something happened that completely changed France's mind. The Suez Canal, Egypt's biggest asset, had been controlled by France and Britain before 1956, but Egypt's leader, Gamal Abdel Nasser, spoke out and nationalized the canal, seizing control of it. In response, France and Britain secretly teamed up with Israel and attacked Egypt. But at that time, both America and Russia were heavily backing the Arab nations, largely because of their oil. Russia threatened France and Britain that if they didn't withdraw, it would use nuclear weapons, while America began applying economic pressure on France. France was forced to back down, and this humiliation is what pushed them to build their own independent nuclear bomb. France sourced uranium from its colonies, Niger, Gabon, and Madagascar, and worked around the clock. In 1960, France carried out its first nuclear test in the Sahara Desert, and by 1968, it had also developed a hydrogen bomb. The fifth country was China. During the Korean War in 1950, there was a point when Chinese forces pushed American troops back. Afterward, an infuriated America even threatened China with nuclear weapons. Chairman Mao realized that as long as China didn't have nuclear weapons, the world would keep pushing them around. Initially, the Soviet Union was a close ally of China and helped it work toward building a bomb. But then relations between the two soured. When the new Soviet leader Khrushchev began softening his stance toward America, Chairman Mao accused the Soviets of no longer being true communists. In response, Russia pulled all its scientists out, leaving China's nuclear ambitions unfinished. But China treated this as a challenge and found its own uranium deposits in its mountains. In 1964, China carried out its first nuclear test, named 596, a name that was essentially a slap in Russia's face, since 59 referred to 1959 and 6 to the month of June. the exact time Russia had abandoned China in this journey. The sixth country is Israel, and its story is particularly fascinating. Israel is the only country that has never officially confirmed or denied having nuclear weapons, though it's widely believed to possess them. This might have stayed hidden forever if not for one man, Mordechai Vanunu. In 1986, Vanunu, a technician at Israel's nuclear facility, leaked the secret to the British press, along with photographs and secret documents. Israel, which had already been working on a joint nuclear project with France, wanted its own bomb due to the perceived threat from the Arab world. But US President Kennedy was strongly opposed to this. It was only after Kennedy's assassination that the path became clear, and 4 years later, in 1967, Israel quietly completed its nuclear program in complete secrecy. When Vanunu exposed the program in 1986, Mossad orchestrated a honey trap operation to lure him back to Israel. Despite serving 18 years in prison, he still lives under heavy restrictions today. The seventh country was India, whose scientists had begun nuclear research even before partition. Initially, India's goal was purely to generate electricity, but the 1962 war with China changed everything. The defeat in the Himalayas pushed India to seriously consider building a nuclear bomb. When China conducted its first nuclear test in 1964, it became a do-or-die situation for India. India then imported reactors from Canada and the US under the pretext of generating electricity. But behind the scenes, something very different was happening. In 1974, a sudden explosion rocked the deserts of Rajasthan. This was Smiling Buddha, India's first nuclear test. India insisted this wasn't a bomb, but a peaceful nuclear explosion. Still, America and Canada were furious, since India had used their supplied technology to build a weapon. As a result, strict sanctions were imposed on India, and India flatly refused to sign the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the global framework under which countries agree to rules aimed at stopping the spread of nuclear weapons. The story didn't end there. Although India tested its bomb in 1974, it took another 20 years to actually turn it into a deployable weapon. And this explosion left a neighboring country deeply unsettled. Now to South Africa, whose story is perhaps the most unusual. Until 1970, South Africa had no real interest in nuclear weapons. But then things changed. South Africa had a strict system of racial segregation, under which laws differed sharply for white and black citizens. Black South Africans even needed passes just to move around within their own country. Because of this system, the country was boycotted worldwide. On top of that, the Soviet Union began expanding its influence in nearby Namibia and Angola. South Africa feared the Soviets might reach them too and join forces with the black population to seize power. In this difficult time, one country stood by South Africa, Israel. Israel shared weapons, fighter jets, and nuclear research with South Africa in exchange for uranium. Then, in 1979, came the famous Vela Incident. American satellites detected two massive flashes near the ocean off South Africa's coast, widely believed to be a joint Israeli-South African nuclear test. Experts believe Israel used South African land for testing in exchange for sharing its research. However, after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1990, South Africa became the first country in history to voluntarily dismantle its own nuclear arsenal. Now to Pakistan, the ninth country to acquire nuclear weapons. Its journey began in 1971, when after the war with India, East Pakistan separated to become Bangladesh. India's Smiling Buddha test in 1974 further intensified Pakistan's determination. Dr. Abdul Qadir Khan, a Pakistani scientist working at a nuclear facility in the Netherlands, obtained uranium enrichment technology and brought the blueprints back to Pakistan. Initially, even America didn't try too hard to stop Pakistan, partly because they underestimated Pakistan's capabilities and partly because Pakistan was a crucial American ally in the fight against the Soviets in Afghanistan. In 1998, when India conducted 5 nuclear tests, Pakistan followed just weeks later with underground tests in the Rasko Hills, officially joining the nuclear club. North Korea's founder Kim Il-sung believed that nuclear weapons were essential to deter old enemies like South Korea and the United States. In the 1950s, the Soviet Union helped North Korea develop nuclear power for electricity. But later, North Korea began demanding weapons technology from both the Soviet Union and China, and both refused. North Korea then secretly pursued its own program for years without success, and in 1990, it even signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty while continuing covert development behind the scenes. In October 2006, North Korea conducted its first nuclear test, one so small that many believed it had malfunctioned. But in 2009, when Kim Jong-il fell ill, North Korea carried out a second, far more powerful test to demonstrate its strength. This one registering a magnitude of 5 on the Richter scale. And with that, North Korea became the 10th, and so far, the last country to join the nuclear club. But is this really the end of the race? Perhaps not. Current developments suggest Iran could be next. Israel, the only nuclear power in the Middle East, is applying pressure on Iran from every direction. And if Iran does succeed, Saudi Arabia won't be far behind. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has said on multiple occasions that if Iran builds a nuclear bomb, Saudi Arabia will do the same. Thank you for watching EkoVerse.